Welcome to Who Made This Mess? Raising Children and Reparenting Ourselves. Here we discuss the joys and challenges of parenting while trying to develop our own self-awareness and self-compassion. Raising children can be messy and so hard, but we believe that as we learn to embrace our own messiness and imperfection, we can learn to show up for our kids and raise a gentler generation.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Angie.
And I'm Shauna.
And we're here for part 2 of caring for postpartum families. Go back and listen to part 1. If you have not, we were sharing a little bit of our own postpartum stories and just some of the surprises that we didn't expect coming. So go ahead and listen to those. But we do want to come back and make sure that we give you some of those specific ideas that were helpful to us, maybe some things as you're preparing to bring a newborn home into your family. And then also we want to give actual support tips for someone who might want to support a family that's bringing in a new child.
Yes. Yeah. And so we did some reflecting on our own, but we also reached out to some other people to be like, hey, what have you experienced that was really supportive and helpful? And so we really appreciate getting some insights from other people as well.
Right.
I think, it's a really tough time. It's a really trying time. It's a beautiful time and an amazing time, right?
Yeah.
And it's an important time to have that support and people around you. It depends. I think there are ways to support families at different levels of friendship, right? So sometimes it's someone that you're really close to and you want to be there and support them. And sometimes it might just be a member of your community, a neighbor, someone you work with, someone you go to church with, and you want to support them, but it might not look like that, call me anytime kind of thing, right? It might look a little bit different. So I think it depends on your level of closeness with the family, on the kinds of support you might be able to provide, and respecting their boundaries. Always, we want to be respecting them.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you are the person giving support, not to be offended if you're not just pop in anytime friend and you're schedule a time to come visit friend, that's okay.
Yeah. I think it's different for every person, and what that family needs in that time isn't necessarily a reflection on how much they value you or appreciate you.
Yeah.
Well, physical support, so when we talk about that, the physical support aspect of things, I think that was a big thing that people talk about a lot, and meals were probably the most most valuable thing for me, as well as what we hear from other people of a
that
good
was
way
a lot
to
of
support.
the feedback.
Yeah, definitely.
Sending meals, bringing them over, dropping them off, that drop off, don't intend to stay and do a big visit. Maybe if they're comfortable with that or want that, but go with the expectation that you're dropping it off, and then things like meal train is something that is really great. You can use this website that you can schedule in what day you're going to bring food. I think that's wonderful.
I don't know if that was around when you had your kids.
Okay. And if it was so new that I didn't know about it.
It's more the old fashioned, someone might kind of coordinate it, or they might just reach out to you directly. But for us, someone from our church set it up for us.
That's so nice.
So that was awesome, right? And they asked, well, what are your preferences? Do you have any dietary constraints, right? Because there are certain things that I don't eat because of my migraines, right? And, eventually I was dairy free. And so you would need to know that if somebody had to, have dietary restraints.
That's nice that they thought of those things. I think that meal train was, when I first heard about it, it was introduced for a family who had lost a family member, and so it was for that kind of thing, tragedy type things. And so the fact that it is being utilized for families like this, I think is great.
Yeah, I agree. I think it can be helpful to have that organization so that you're not wasting food or getting too overwhelmed with food, because I know Thankfully, my daughter was born in January, and we called it the cold porch because we had a porch that wasn't insulated but was closed in.
Oh, yeah.
We were keeping food on that, like our veggie trays and our drinks, right? Because we thankfully had a lot of people come and support us. But I like the idea of like having it organized and spaced out so that it's not all in like the first 2 weeks of having a baby, but we spread that out maybe 6 weeks or something. It was like a nice long time that we were able to spread that out, and I didn't have to think about dinners or leftovers were there. I think it'd be really helpful too to make meals that are easy to freeze or just like freezer meals if someone has the space in their freezer for that, because that they can take it out at any time. So if there is a night where the meal train didn't have anybody, but I don't have the energy to cook, I don't have the energy to make something, it's not that hard for that to happen. So something like lasagna or soup can be a really good meal for that postpartum period.
Right. Yeah, and then if you're not a cook, send a gift card. Yes. Restaurant gift cards are great. They, especially now, like after COVID, I feel like the restaurants really stepped up their to-go stuff, and then there's even like Grubhub or DoorDash. You can get gift cards, and it's just so helpful. It just eases everything.
Locally, we're in the Pittsburgh area, and there is a company called Pittsburgh Fresh, and a group of friends got together to give us a gift card for Pittsburgh Fresh, and so like they were able to give us like a couple of $100, like maybe like $500, I think, which is huge. But we were able to use that after the meal train was over. Like, we could order meals almost for a whole week. It would last us, right? And so that was like really helpful. They delivered it to our house, and I had healthy options that I could, give myself and my husband. And my daughter wasn't old enough to eat at that point.
But it was so important for you both to be fulfilled.
And like that made a big difference. Food that I could just throw in the microwave and it was ready to go. So I think food being that first go-to of something you can do to support a family that's in need. Care packages are another thing. And so I think like we kind of talked about two different kinds of care packages. I talked in the last episode about the care package that my friend had made me that had like a variety of things in it. Some like one-handed snacks being big, or like breakfast items, because that was something that I always was like, oh, I don't know what to do for breakfast, but I need something. So is it like having some protein drinks in there that you can just have, nutrients really quickly, or granola bars, those kinds of things.
And I love that there's emphasis put on like a care package for like the parents, for the mother. And then you even mentioned, think about the dads too. They need support as well. And even if it's not sending something, reach out. If you're a fellow dad, reach out. See how they're doing, see what they need, what could be helpful. And, it could just be, well, I don't have time to pack my lunch, so, offer lunch,
offer to stop by, like if they're back to work already, like maybe offer to stop by and drop off some lunch for them at their job. Or I remember, one friend stopping by with like a breakfast sandwich and coffee with my husband, just to like chat with him for a little bit. Like, hey, can I stop by with this for you? Right. Like that stood out to me of like something that was really needed, because he needed another dad to just kind of acknowledge him in those moments.
And just like, I think with the right motive and the right heart, we reach out. I know I've done it. I've reached out and say, let me know if you need anything. And I think sometimes just taking some initiative of like just doing something, because the receiver might be like, no, I don't want to burden, or I don't know what to ask for. I need so much, but what do I ask for? Just sometimes just doing it, is good.
Are you able to accept a delivery this evening? Right. So like,
like, hey, I'm doing this delivery. I'm going to send something to you as well. Yeah.
I definitely think.
I think it just takes the thinking out of it, and then you can just say thank you,
because we feel guilty, right? Accepting things, accepting help, accepting meals, saying that there's a need, and we don't really need to feel guilty, but we do.
Yeah.
And so I think that can be really helpful.
And it doesn't have to be, I think that you can touch on like what's going to lift them up emotionally in that moment. I think as a mom accepting help, I could have probably been hesitant to say like, can you get me a Starbucks right now? You know, because it's not a need for the baby, or all that caffeine, that's bad for nursing, you know, like, and just, but if like, you know, a small Starbucks could have like really just lifted me for the day, but do I reach out and say that? No, I would probably be like, no, you know, just send some orange juice.
Yeah. But I think those are the great moments where someone's like, hey, I'm already going to Starbucks. Can I drop this off on my way home for you?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm already doing this, even if maybe you're doing it with the intention of helping somebody. It's like, I'm already going to do this. You're not changing, like, you're not inconveniencing
Help them
me.
say yes. Help them say yes.
Yeah. Because those things really, they mean a lot and they stick with you. And like, I just remember times, you know, we're going to talk about like ways that you can help with certain tasks, but friends were like, hey, we're going to the grocery store. Do you guys need milk or bread or diapers? Right. We can pick some up. Like, that was always really helpful for us. Or even like I wasn't thinking about this when we were talking earlier, but like the families who are like, hey, we're getting rid of this baby stuff. Hey, like my daughter just sized up in diapers. Can I give the rest of these to you?
Yeah.
Like, those kinds of things were really helpful too. Like, these are the things that worked for me. Can I send this to you? I think those things like are really nice, just to kind of know like what worked for you if you've experienced this before, and passing those things on. Care packages for the mother with like, this was shared from somebody in the group, and I think this is a great idea. Like postpartum bleeding care, like a bathroom kit, right? Like where you have your peri bottle and you have your, like, someone made her pad sickles with, you know, like ice packs for, you know, the postpartum period. And there's so many things that like before you give birth, you don't really know or talk about, right? And so like, I think she said her kit had like the peri bottle, witch hazel, wipes, pads, like those kinds of things that you need to have like in a caddy right beside the toilet, right in the bathroom, so that you can do those things that, you know, we don't like to talk about, but are very much needed on a, like, you know, every hour, every 2 hour kind of basis. You need those kinds of things. So having that support there, I think, can be really helpful.
Yeah. And even just maybe a little bit further down the line, just things to like make you feel yourself again, you know, send like a little Bath and Body Works gift, a dry shampoo, you know, something that
shampoo.
you know is like, they're gonna need it, like
because you know we're not showering all the time, right? Like
just stuff like, I don't know, just to make you feel, I don't know, just nice again.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think something I'm hearing with that too.
I felt really gross for a long time.
And like to know that other people have been there and know that you need to take shortcuts. Like they know you need to use that dry shampoo, right? They know that you might need that all over body wipe because you're not going to take a shower today, right? And so like, you know, those little things that might kind of just normalize that for, you know, someone in the postpartum period, I think can be really helpful. And then there are ways to like offer like help, right? And we kind of talked about like doing instead of asking, or like, you know, kind of saying that you're going to do it and making sure that you have their permission, but
know who you're dealing with. But
like don't go up to like every single person you meet and be like, I am going to take your trash out now, right? Like, might be weird.
I think someone mentioned like bringing the mail from the mailbox and setting it at the porch door for them, so that they didn't have to worry about like going down a long driveway without baby.
Yeah. Like those little things that become so much harder once you have another person in tow. Like my driveway currently is like a third of a mile long, right? And so I'm not putting that baby in a car seat, right, to go all the way out there to get the mail. And so somebody bringing that into that door for me at this point in my life would have been like super, super helpful. I think, you know, if you are allowed to come into the home, if someone is like okay with you coming into the home, then like just washing the dishes, just wiping the counters off in the kitchen, just sweeping the floors, right? Not being like, what can I do to help? Okay, like I'll just sit here with you. It's like, no, if you see something that can be done, just do it. Just break down those boxes from the Amazon deliveries, right? Like, so just kind of like doing those kinds of things, I think. Don't open their Amazon packages. I realized once I said that. I just mean like we had stacks and stacks of like diaper boxes, right? Like, can I cut these down for you?
Down. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I take them to the recycling?
Where do you keep them? Yep.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff I think can be really helpful. Just cleaning up in the house. Like, you know, if they go to use the restroom, you clean that toilet bowl, right?
Yeah.
If that toilet brush is right there, just clean the toilet bowl, right? Don't ask any questions. Don't make any judgments. Just kind of, you know, taking the trash out when they leave. I thought that was such a great idea.
Well, I remember there was a time that Tiffany did clean the bathroom for me.
Yeah.
She probably did more than once too. But just doing it.
Yeah, it means so much, right? Like washing the bottles that might be accumulating, right? And like, you know, maybe it's saying, hey, can I sanitize some things for you? Right? I'll sit here by the pot of boiling water, right? You don't want to have your newborn hanging out by and sanitize these things. I think that kind of stuff can be really helpful. And taking care of pets was another one that I thought was big.
Yeah. And one thing that I was going to say too was the other siblings, like, get lunch for them. Like, make them a PB&J, you know, if you're there, help, you know, give the space, you know, by helping the other siblings, because that's really, really, really helpful. If you just take them outside to play a little bit, you know, stuff like that.
Or take them on an outing if you have that kind of relationship where you can, you know, take them to the children's museum or to the zoo, or like do something fun and special, because they're going through a transition too, and they're, you know, kind of adjusting to their parents not being able to give them the same amount of attention that they did before. And so I think those kinds of things can be really helpful. If the parent is willing to let you hold the baby, like maybe it's holding the baby while the parent takes the other child out to do something, right? Like, or like takes them to the park around the corner. You know, those kinds of things can mean a lot, I think.
And I think go into like the outing, like my friend Sarah was really good at this, like go into the outing, like we might even go together for the outing, but she certainly went in with the intent, or it was just natural to her, but she was so helpful through it. So if you're inviting a new mom that might also have other children as well, like out to do something, just to like, hey, go further than just like, let's get you out of the house. Go further by being a help throughout that outing. Really have the mindset to be intentional of being supportive throughout the outing. Because the last thing you want to do is go out for the outing and then, you know, not be offering to help with anything, because then it's really hard for the mom or the dad. You know, it's really difficult to go through that whole outing and manage it all. And so really go in with like being as intentional as possible. Maybe older kid isn't as comfortable with you or doesn't listen as well to you, so you take the younger one. Just go with what works, or help with the newborn so that mom can, you know, reel in the older ones, you know,
or like get the stroller out of the back of the car, right? Or like hold the kid's hand while mom's getting the stroller ready so they don't run off in the parking lot.
You got it. Do you got it, or do you need help?
Just
do it. Just do it.
I think that's a really great idea of like how to provide that support. You know, I loved this other idea too that one of the moms shared about offering to drive the mom or the baby to appointments, even if you're not going into the building with them. Like, moms might have a lot of appointments postpartum, and you know, if they're breastfeeding or if they don't have childcare, right? Like they might want to take that baby with them. But I don't know what it's like now, but during COVID, I was never allowed to take my newborn into my postpartum appointment, like, or my 6-week appointment or whatever, right? And so, you know, if you can ride in the car and then you're hanging out in the car with the baby, or, you know, while mom goes into her appointment, you know, if, you know, the support person, like the father, you know, isn't there, they have to go back to work or something, you know, being there to say like, I'll go with you to your appointments could be, huge to somebody who is struggling, or somebody who's like, I need to go talk to my doctor about my postpartum depression or my anxiety, right? And like, this is hard. Or for me, it was like going back to the hospital where my trauma happened.
Yeah.
And the first time I tried to go back without anybody, and like just cried in the doctor's office the whole time, right? And so like, you know, the next time I learned, I need to take somebody with me. Like, that's okay. It's okay to take somebody with you. Yeah. And it's okay if you are that mom to ask somebody to go with you, right? Like, to inconvenience somebody a little bit in their day so that you have the support that you need.
Yeah, absolutely. And like those, I think car rides are golden for a lot of different things. You know, you can be that friend that's supportive in the car on the way and on the way home too, and just make sure they're settled, you know, and okay afterwards. And I mean, even just like, I remember being at doctor's appointments, and then I needed to go to the bathroom, and it's like, how do you go to the bathroom as the mom when you got like two little ones, you know, or even just one a newborn and one, and like, you know, just trying to do all that. And
because those stalls are not made for strollers. No. Like, even the handicap ones are hard to fit like a stroller and yourself and everything into. Yeah.
And if you have like whether you have a carrier or not, or like, you know, it can be so tough.
Yeah.
I was going to say one other thing that I did also want to mention about all of this is this isn't just for supporting families who are bringing in a newborn baby that they birthed. It also can pertain to foster families, adoptive families. Absolutely. And I know I have a few friends right now that have newly within the past year had foster kids enter their home at multiple ages, and it's just a really big life change transition time. Foster care is so complex, and so there are rules as far as privacy and different things, but ask that mom how you can support, or just look for ways to support and do it. It means so much, and I think that some of the things that we're offering as advice or tips to try, I think really can roll over into foster care families and adoptive families.
And they might have physical supports that they need, but I think also like the emotional supports are really important in all of those scenarios. And so like I was thinking about checking in on parents and their well-being, and like how they're coping and what their stress level is like, and just whether that's, you know, knowing your friends, like if they're text people or their phone call people. I'm a text person. My husband's a phone call person, right? And so like we might like a little bit of different ways. I'm not a big like all the time phone call. Like if you call me and it's not planned, I might not be ready to really talk to you about what's going on with me. But, you know, maybe planning phone calls or planning check-ins with somebody.
I know for myself, it's hard to have like a quick phone call. And I think that's why like there's certain times I really lean to text. Other times it's like, I love phone calls, but I have to plan for the phone call. That's all.
Like, and maybe that is some part of like being the default parent as moms. Often like we're with our kids and we don't have the privacy we might need, or you know, like we need to kind of get those supports in place so that we can have those real conversations about what's going on.
That's very true. And I think that is why I have to like schedule phone calls, because my kids are at the age they listen to everything that you don't want them to hear. I'll put that on there, that you don't want them to hear. What you do want them to hear.
I didn't notice you were talking to me, Mom.
But yeah, I do. We need support in areas that may not be good for young ears. So
yeah. And I think too, when someone does share that they're struggling or talks about something that's hard or confusing, it's like normalize it, validate those feelings. don't jump into like, well, here's how you can solve that problem.
Yeah.
Or like, well, just think about all these other people who have it so much worse than
Yeah.
you. It's like, that's not helpful,
No,
right? But
no.
like, oh my gosh, yes, I remember how hard that is. Like, that sounds really tough. Like, I think that sounds really normal to be pretty anxious about these kinds of things. Like, yeah, I get that. And like those kinds of things I think are really helpful when we're actually listening and providing support.
That's what I love about our friendship, actually, because we both have had like a lot of heavy things to deal with, but they're very different. I don't think
Yeah.
we have gone through like a lot of the same things, but we have. It's really, really great. We've been able to be there for each other, even though I may not understand at all what you've gone through. I can understand the emotion that you've had, and so vice versa. Like we've been able to help each other. So
Absolutely. And then like I think you did a really good job of like normalizing the things that I'm experiencing, even if they were different for you, or like even though our kids are like almost 10 years apart, right? Like, you know, I think that it's been really helpful to hear like even your experiences. You mentioned last episode about having your tailbone be broken, right? And like how that created a lot of physical challenges for you. And like for me to be like, okay, yeah, like there are other people who have gone through like something that's challenging and not had this beautiful, perfect like postpartum period. And so, okay, I'm not alone in this, right? Like that's really helpful to hear that. And there are times I think when new parents want advice and need advice, but I think kind of like letting them ask for it a little bit, right? Like offering advice when asked versus like, let me give you all this advice that can be overwhelming. But yeah, I think like just giving that support first rather than like problem solving or advice.
I know one thing I want to do like from here on out is kind of talk ahead of time too. I know a couple people that are expecting now. Talk ahead of time to those people. What support would you like after the baby comes? Is there ways that I can be helping now? Is there anything in mind that you would like for me to take on when you do have the baby? And this might be a really good time to talk to them about it before baby comes. And they may not know if this is their first, but I think it's good to open up the conversation. It'll help them be able to reach out, I think. Also help you have a good expectation and mindset, like, hey, I said I would do this. Let me prepare to do this now.
Yeah.
And I think you had mentioned there's going to be times where you want to set up ways to set up your support.
Yes.
And reaching out, you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. For myself, I was not the person to reach out at even, I could be quite shy until I'm not, is how I put it. I will be shy at first, but once I'm comfortable with you, then that's it. Like, we're good to go. I'm probably not going to stop talking, and we can go for hours, but
you've entered the circle of trust.
Right? The circle of trust is there, and you're trapped. So that's kind of how it goes for me. But I would have to like open up with people and try to build relationship. And you're not just opening up to a stranger. I'm really talking about building a relationship. But you had wanted to mention some ways to prepare.
Yes, I think it is important when you are anticipating a change in your family or having a new baby to kind of think about what are the things that are important to you, like who are the supports that you want to have in place, and what are some of the boundaries around those supports that you want to have in place. And some of the moms from my group mentioned this, like setting those boundaries, having expectations around visitors, right? Do you want visitors or not? Is it okay for people to hold the baby, kiss the baby, bring their other kids around the baby, right? Like that was something, and that might change over time too, right? Like your boundaries that you anticipate having versus what the experience is actually like. Like I hope my best friend had a preemie, and so like if her baby would have went to full term, maybe she would have been a little bit more comfortable of having my daughter there. But because she had a preemie, she was like, I think I'd rather you leave her at home if you're going to come and help us, right? And that's okay, right?
And like sending things like if you're not comfortable in the moment, like I know in the moment I kind of can like not be so up to my standards that I already know are in my mind.
Yeah.
You have to use the hand sanitizer every time. You have to use hold them with a blanket around them. Things like that, like send a text before they arrive. Say, hey, just a reminder, these are the things that are important. Because like in the moment, once they get there, you just want to be lovey and huggy. And if okay, washing your hands, sanitizer every time, set that sanitizer bottle right next to the bassinet and they'll know, and that sets your boundary. Hopefully, without having to just like repeat over and over and over again those things.
And it is important to recognize you can set those boundaries in the moment, right? Like sometimes I know I'm thinking like of like, older family members might not always be really great at like asking first, right? And so you might need to say, and this could be younger ones too. I'm not mean to discriminate by age. I'm thinking of my own experiences, but like you can say to them like, oh, we're having everybody wash their hands before they hold the baby, right? And it's just like you're just letting them, actually, I'm gonna hold on to her right now. I don't feel comfortable with that. Or setting like some boundaries in terms of like wearing the baby. If you don't want people to hold the baby, you can like baby wear, and that way it's like, nope, you're not gonna ask to hold, like you're not gonna hold her because I've got her right now.
I don't know what that is. It's like a fear of like, I mean, these days everybody's offended by everything, so it's like the fear of the offense, I guess. But yes, don't be strong. You are the advocate for that baby. So
we don't want to disappoint people. People are so excited, and so I think sometimes it's hard. But like as the parent, you are entitled to set those boundaries. You are entitled to do what feels good and what feels right to you. So I think like having those boundaries in place, but then I think also like thinking in advance about the emotional supports and the physical supports that you might need. Like you mentioned, you might reach out to somebody, but like maybe you are thinking about that in advance, or maybe that brings up those thoughts in advance of like, okay, who might I want to ask? Who might be able to come and help me?
Yeah.
Can I talk to my sister-in-law? Can I talk to my good friend and see like, hey, I'm anticipating I'm going to need some help with our pets or our other kids when this happens. Like, would you be able to come over once a week and help out with some stuff, right? Like, kind of asking in advance, giving those expectations, putting feelers out with things. And when people, this is something I wish I would have done, when people do offer to help, and sometimes our first response is like, oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. But then like a month later, when I actually need the help, I'm like, I can't remember who told me that. Like, I cannot remember who said, I'm happy to help you.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have kept like a little note in my phone of like, oh, these are the people who offered to help. And like, I actually think they're offering from a genuine place and want to help. Right. Like, like keeping like some notes about that, I think could be helpful.
I think that also you had mentioned that you had reached out to like a therapist and stuff like that for support through pregnancy and after pregnancy, and how important that is to like have that set up.
Yeah, I think having like your professional supports as well in place, right? Like, so that would be, for me, it was like having a good therapist that I already trusted, and like adding therapists to that as needed if you need specialized trauma treatment or those kinds of things. But having like a network of people that I could go to or ask for help, having a couples therapist, that was really important, because like that is such a difficult transition on your relationship.
Sure is.
And so having a space set up where we could do that,
that's really great. Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, no, that was really meaningful for us.
Even beforehand, I think that's great. Before baby arrives, to do that kind of support as a family, as a couple already.
Yeah. Open up that communication, right? And like, knowing what you can do to talk about things and have that support as you go through this. So yeah, those things were really important. I think having your medical team, right? And thinking about that, like the people you can go to, having your support groups, whether that's like in person, which I think was not really an option for me, but also is a little intimidating when you do have a newborn, but maybe it's online support groups or mom groups, like asking around to other parents, like what was helpful to them. Do they have any groups that they would recommend to you? Just kind of setting yourself up to get support, not in a way that you're overwhelmed, because I think sometimes it can be overwhelming, but to just be kind of thinking in advance of like, what supports can I know that I can go to if I need them?
Right. Yeah.
Versus like, you don't have to have it figured out. You can get supports as you go, as you discover what you need. You can change your plans.
Yeah.
Right?
There's no limit to the age of your child that when you need support. That's
Yes.
one that I've learned.
My
friend, I know that I have a couple friends like, my friend Monique, like I can reach out to her and I know I can. We may not talk every day, but she and I both know that we are there for each other if we need, like just send that text and we know.
So like thinking about those things ahead of time, so that when you are experiencing distress, when you are overwhelmed, you don't have to like reinvent the wheel. Like the wheel is there, you just got to roll it.
Yeah.
And so like being prepared yourself, but then like when you know somebody who's expecting or going through a big life transition with their family, being a support to others. If you have the emotional resources, if the physical resources, the financial resources, whatever way you can give, I think it's so valuable to kind of know what is actually helpful, and to ask what might be helpful, if you feel like it, and then to just do it.
Yeah.
Right? Do.
Absolutely. Yes, we hope that this episode has been helpful to you and you take some of these things. We'd love to support you as well. Reach out to us. We'd love to give our input and share with you.
If you have other ideas for the community about what was helpful postpartum and you want to get that out there, we're happy to share those ideas again too, like on our Instagram, as well as like share this episode. If you're an expectant parent, share this episode with your loved ones. Let them know, give them some ideas too. Take some time to reflect.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you like and subscribe so that you can get notifications of our upcoming episodes. You can email us at whomadethismesspod@gmail.com. We can be found at Instagram at whomadethismesspodcast. And I can be found at Robinson right now.
I'm at the Nerdy Nurturer.
Thanks for listening.
Love ya.